Hello? I whispered it, already half out of bed. The apartment was dark and still, the old fridge humming in the kitchen. My husband, Mark, slept on his side of the bed, the soft rumble of his snore steady and calm. On the screen, calling Maddie, 7. Aunt Jenna? Her voice sounded tiny, not sleepy tiny, shaking tiny. My stomach dropped. Maddie? Hey, baby, what's wrong? I don't want to be here anymore, she whispered. Mom left again? It's really cold. I'm hungry. The door is locked from the outside. I sat straight up. Locked? What do you mean locked? The words tumbled out of her in pieces. She said I was being dramatic when I cried, 'cause she went out with Trevor. She told me to stay in the basement so I wouldn't ruin her night. She put the bar down on the door. I can't open it. There's no food down here. The lights are off. I'm scared. I swung my legs out of bed. Maddie, listen to me. Stay on the phone, okay? Don't hang up. I'm right here. Across the bed, Mark stirred. Jen? What's going on? I mouthed. Maddie. And he sat up instantly, the sleepy fog gone from his face. It's almost midnight, he said quietly. Why is she calling you? I hit speaker so he could hear. Baby, where's your mom? Gone. She said she'd be back after a few drinks, but that was before my show ended. I watched 2 more, then my tablet died. It's dark now. I think she forgot about me. Her breath hitched. I could picture her in that unfinished basement of my sister's rental. Concrete floor, 1 bare bulb, the old couch they never bothered to bring upstairs. I grabbed jeans and a hoodie with one hand, my keys with the other. Maddie, I'm coming. Right now. Keep talking to me. Can you see a clock anywhere? Do you know what time it is? There's the little green numbers on the washer. She sniffed. It says 12:07. 7 minutes after midnight, and my niece was locked in a basement because my sister wanted a night out. This was not the first warning sign, just the loudest. Caroline always said she was doing her best. She liked to talk about how hard single motherhood was, how she deserved a break and needed to blow off steam. But blowing off steam turned into missing school drop-offs, showing up late to birthdays, borrowing money that never came back. She got survivor benefits after her ex, Maddie's dad, died in a work accident. A check every month meant to help raise his daughter. The first time she showed me the letter, she laughed. At least something good came out of that mess, she'd said, waving the envelope like a winning lottery ticket. I'd chosen not to hear what that really meant. Now, Maddie was crying on the phone, whispering, Please don't tell Mom I called. She says nobody wants a needy kid. I jammed my feet into sneakers, heartbeat pounding. Listen to me, I said. You did nothing wrong. You're not needy. You're 7. You're supposed to ask for help. That's what I'm here for. Mark was already pulling on his own clothes. I'll drive, he said. You talk to her. Their house was 15 minutes away if the lights were green. It felt like 15 years. Are there any windows down there? I asked as we hurried to the car. A little one, up high, she said. But it's dark outside. I can't see anything. Okay, I want you to sit on the couch if you can find it. Wrap yourself in whatever blanket you have. I'm coming straight to you. I won't hang up. The night outside was sharp and clear, streetlights stretching over empty roads. As Mark drove, I put the phone close, listening to Maddie's tiny breaths, the occasional sniffle, the creak of pipes in the background. Did you eat anything for dinner? I asked. She said I had enough at lunch, Maddie murmured. But lunch was just chips. Trevor took the rest of my nuggets. My jaw clenched. I forced my voice to stay calm. Okay, so first we're getting you out, then we're getting you something warm to eat. After that, some people are going to help us make sure this never happens again, all right? Like, the police? She whispered, nervous. Maybe, or someone like them. Grown-ups whose whole job is to keep kids safe. But we'll talk about that when you're with me, okay? She was quiet for a moment. Aunt Jenna? Yeah? Do you think my dad knows? Her voice broke on the word. He'd be mad if he knew I was in the basement alone. I swallowed hard. Her dad, my brother-in-law Eric, had been the steady one. He'd saved for Maddie's future, bought her books, read her bedtime stories even after long shifts at the warehouse. Then a forklift accident took him in one ordinary afternoon, and everything cracked. I think if your dad knew, I said slowly, he'd want you somewhere safe. And that's exactly what we're doing tonight. We turned onto Caroline Street. Their little rental sat at the end of the block, porch light off, the rest of the house dark. But Trevor's dented pickup was gone. Of course, Mark muttered, out living their best life. I unbuckled before the car fully stopped. Maddie, I'm here. I'm outside. I could hear her sit up. Really? I sprinted up the walkway, heart punching my ribs. The front door was locked. I rattled it. No answer. Basement window, Mark said, pointing around the side. We jogged along the narrow strip of grass. There it was, small rectangle of glass near the ground. A sliver of shadow moved across it. I see you, Maddie called softly, her voice suddenly hopeful. Back up a little, sweetheart, I said. I don't want glass near you if this breaks. Mark cupped his hands around his eyes and peered in. She's right. There, he said, sitting on that old blanket. We tried the tiny latch from outside. Stuck. Rusted. Okay, I said, thinking fast. Maddie, can you see the top of the door from down there? Yeah, she said. There's the metal bar. Do you think you're strong enough to lift it? I tried. She sounded ashamed. It's too heavy. It's not your job to open it, I said softly. It's ours. I dialed 911 with shaking fingers. 911, what's your emergency? My 7-year-old niece is locked alone in a basement by her mother, I said, the words spilling out. Mom left for the night. She's hungry, cold, and she can't get out. I'm at the house now, but I can't open the door from outside without breaking in. I need someone here. The operator's tone sharpened. Okay, ma'am, stay with me. What's the address? Is the child with you on the phone? Yes. Sweetheart, can you say hi to the lady on the phone? I asked. A tiny voice said, Hi. That was all it took. Within minutes, we saw the blue and red flash reflecting off neighboring windows. A patrol car pulled up quietly, lights dimmed so they wouldn't wake the whole block. Officer Daniels, mid-30s, calm eyes, listened carefully as I explained. He walked around to the basement window, knelt, and spoke gently. Hey, Maddie, my name's Jason. I'm a police officer. I'm here with your aunt to get you out, okay? Okay, came the small answer. He checked the door, tested the knob, then looked back at me. Basement door is secured from the outside with a bar, he said. No adults inside. This is not okay. He radioed for a supervisor and for Child Protective Services to be notified, documenting everything. Then he looked at the window again. I'm going to break this carefully and help her out, he said. We'll write it up in the report. You good with that? Yes, I said fiercely. Break whatever you need. He used his baton to chip at one corner, then another, until the glass loosened. He peeled pieces away with gloved hands, laid them on the grass, and ducked his head inside. 2 minutes later, Maddie's small, shaking body was passing through that square of night into my arms. She weighed almost nothing. Her hair was messy, pajamas thin, toes bare and cold. She clutched a worn-out stuffed bunny to her chest. You came, she whispered into my neck. I always will, I said, fighting the burn in my throat. Behind us, the supervisor arrived, began photographing the barred door, the empty driveway, the dark windows. Reports, documentation, a system creaking awake. Officer Daniels turned to me. "Ma'am, we're going to need a statement from you, and CPS will want to talk tonight. But for now, she needs food and warmth. There's a hospital a few blocks away. They can evaluate her while we start the paperwork." Mark opened the back door of our car, already spreading out his jacket like a blanket. Maddie looked up at me with wide, tired eyes. "Am I in trouble?" I tucked her close. "No, honey," I said. "The only people in trouble are the ones who left you here." As we drove toward the hospital, streetlights sliding past the windows, a single thought solidified in my chest like stone. This wasn't going to be a one-night rescue. It was going to be a war. And this time, I wasn't going to pretend everything was fine just to keep the peace. The emergency room nurse took one look at Maddie and moved fast. "Let's get her checked out," she said gently, guiding us into an exam room. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm Nurse Kelly. I like your bunny." Maddie clung to my hand but let the nurse listen to her chest, take her temperature, check her blood sugar. She flinched when they asked her to step on the scale. "She's underweight for her age," the doctor said quietly a few minutes later. "Dehydrated. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but clearly not getting consistent care." Mark sat in the corner, hands folded, jaw tight. I answered every question. How long had this been going on? Had I noticed signs? How often did Caroline go out? As I spoke, guilt pressed on my ribs. Yes, I'd noticed. Missed school events. Maddie's clothes a little too small, her backpack a little too worn, her eyes a little too wary. But I'd told myself Caroline was stressed, overwhelmed. That as long as Maddie smiled when she saw me, things couldn't be that bad. Denial is comfortable until it isn't. A Child Protective Services intake worker arrived just before 2 a.m. Her badge read Amy Thompson, early 40s, kind but utterly firm. She sat across from me with a tablet and a legal pad. "Ms. Walker, I know this is a lot," she said, "but I'm going to ask you some detailed questions. The more specific you are, the easier it is for us to protect Maddie." I told her everything, about tonight, about the survivor benefits Caroline bragged about, the bar on the basement door, the nights Maddie had mentioned being alone with the TV, the missed school days, the way Caroline brushed off my concerns. Amy typed, asked follow-ups, wrote down names and addresses. "Do you feel Maddie would be safe returning home with her mother tonight?" she asked finally. My entire body recoiled. "No," I said. "Absolutely not." "Do you and your husband have room for her temporarily?" Mark leaned forward. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "We've got a second bedroom. I'll sleep on the couch if I have to. She's family." Amy nodded. "Okay. Given the circumstances, I'm placing Maddie in emergency kinship care with you tonight. We'll have to go to court for formal custody, but she won't be going back to that house until a judge says so." Maddie tilted her head. "Does that mean I get to stay with Aunt Jenna?" Amy smiled softly. "For now, yes. And if everything goes well, maybe longer." Maddie scooted closer to me on the plastic chair and slipped her hand into mine. By the time we left the hospital with a stack of discharge papers and CPS forms, dawn was smearing pink at the edges of the sky. At home, I tucked Maddie into our guest room bed. Mark brought her a warm sandwich and a cup of cocoa. She took tiny bites, eyes heavy but alert, like she was afraid this was all a dream. "You're safe," I told her. "Get some sleep, okay?" She nodded, then hesitated. "Are you going to lock the door?" My chest ached. "No, honey," I said. "Your door stays open in this house." She finally slept. I didn't. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table with Mark, CPS paperwork spread between us, the 3 a.m. silence humming in my ears. "You know Caroline is going to explode when she finds out," Mark said. "I know. She's going to say you betrayed her, took her kid, ruined her life." I stared at the signature line where my name was supposed to go. "Then she can explain why her life depends on locking a 7-year-old in a basement so she can go drink with her boyfriend." I signed. By mid-morning, my phone lit up with Caroline's name. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. "Hello. What did you do?" she screamed. "I came home and my house was swarming with cops and some lady from CPS. They said you reported me. Where is Maddie?" "She's safe," I said evenly. "With me. You had no right. She was locked in a basement, Caroline." My voice shook, but I didn't back down. "Alone, hungry, in the middle of the night. That's not a timeout. That's neglect." "You're so dramatic," she snapped. "I was gone for a few hours. She's fine. You always thought you were better than me." "What? Did you want her survivor check that bad?" Something inside me went cold. "This isn't about money," I said. "This is about the fact that you keep choosing your nights out over your daughter's safety." "You're dead to me," she hissed. "I'll tell the court you made this up. You turned my own kid against me." "You can tell the court whatever you want," I replied. "They'll have the photos, the officer's report, the doctor's notes, Maddie's statement. I'm done covering for you, Caroline." She hung up, leaving a ringing silence in my ear. Within a week, there was a hearing scheduled, temporary custody on the docket. Our lawyer, a woman named Rachel Price, met with us at her downtown office. She clicked a pen, listening as I replayed everything again. "This is not going to be pretty," she said finally. "Your sister's attorney will likely argue that it was a one-time mistake and that you're exaggerating. But the barred basement door and the police report are powerful. So is the pattern of behavior." "What about the survivor? Benefits?" I asked. "Eric left that money for Maddie. Caroline buys new shoes every month but told me she couldn't afford after-school care." Rachel nodded. "We'll subpoena the bank records. If she's been misusing those funds, the judge will want to know." The day of the hearing, the family court hallway buzzed with quiet conversations and echoing footsteps. I sat on a wooden bench outside the courtroom, Maddie leaning against me, her bunny tucked under her arm. Caroline walked in wearing a tight dress and too bright lipstick, Trevor trailing behind her in a shirt that still smelled faintly of last night's cologne. She didn't look at me. When our case was called, we went in. The judge, a woman in her 50s with kind but steely eyes, took her seat. Rachel presented calmly. The 911 transcript, the photos of the barred door, the officer's report, the hospital notes, the CPS assessment. Officer Daniels testified first. "When I arrived, the child confirmed she had been left alone in the basement, with the door secured from the outside," he said. "No adults were present. Based on my training, I considered that an unsafe situation." Amy from CPS spoke next. "Given the pattern reported by the aunt and corroborated by the child, we recommended emergency removal and kinship placement pending this hearing." Then it was my turn. I stood, palms damp, heart thudding. "Ms. Walker," the judge said, "why did you come forward now?" "Because I finally let myself see what was in front of me," I answered. For a long time, I wanted to believe my sister was overwhelmed, but trying. But Maddie called me from a locked basement, hungry and terrified. If I looked away from that, I'd be no better than the person who put her there. Caroline's attorney tried to paint a different picture. "Isn't it true your sister has always struggled financially?" he asked her gently on the stand. Caroline dabbed at carefully smudged mascara. "I'm doing my best," she said. "I put Maddie in the basement for a timeout because she threw a tantrum when I left. I didn't lock her up, The bar just slipped. The bar slipped, the attorney echoed, as though that made sense. And the food? The judge asked. Why was there none available to her? Caroline shrugged, lips pressed. She'd already eaten. She lies about being hungry. She just wants attention. Something in the judge's eyes hardened. The bank records told the rest of the story. Expensive dinners, concert tickets, a shiny new gaming console for Trevor, but no regular grocery store spending, no school supply purchases, no doctor visits. The survivor benefits Eric earned with his life flowing away on things his daughter never saw. When closing arguments ended, the judge took a long moment. The quiet in the courtroom felt heavy, like everyone was holding a breath. Ms. Carter, she said at last, looking at Caroline by her full name. Raising a child is more than posting photos of her on social media and assuming she'll be fine while you pursue your social life. Locking a 7-year-old in a basement and leaving for hours is not discipline. It is neglect. She turned to me. Ms. Walker, you stepped in when your niece needed you. The court is grateful. Then the words that changed everything. Temporary custody of Madison Carter is granted to her aunt, Jenna Walker, effective immediately. Supervised visitation for the mother may be arranged through Child Protective Services after she completes parenting classes, substance use, evaluation, and counseling. Use of survivor benefits will be monitored, and any misuse may be referred for further legal action. Maddie squeezed my hand so hard my fingers tingled. Caroline burst into noisy tears. You can't do this! She's my daughter! The judge's voice stayed calm. She is your daughter. Start acting like it, and maybe one day you can be trusted with her again. We walked out of that courtroom with a stack of papers and a 7-year-old who looked up at me like I was the only steady thing in the world. That night, back home, Mark made spaghetti in the big pot. Noah, our 10-year-old, pulled out his favorite board game and set it up on the living room rug. Maddie changed into the soft pajamas we'd bought her on the way home from court. She curled up next to me on the couch, sauce on her chin, Bunny in her lap. Is this my home now? She asked. I looked at Mark, at Noah grinning over the game board, at the little girl who had called me from a basement and changed all of our lives. This is your home, I said. For as long as you need it. She thought about that, then nodded slowly. Aunt Jenna? Yeah? Can I call you something else? Aunt sounds like visiting. I don't feel like I'm visiting. My throat tightened. What do you want to call me? She traced the edge of her bunny's ear. Maybe Mom Jen? My eyes burned. I pulled her into a hug. Yeah, I whispered into her hair. You can call me that. Months later, the fear began to fade from her eyes. She started raising her hand in class, laughing at Noah's dumb jokes, arguing for extra dessert like a normal kid. Caroline did start the classes eventually. She called sometimes angry, sometimes crying, sometimes quiet. I didn't hate her. I just wouldn't let her hurt Maddie again. One evening, Maddie drew a picture at the kitchen table, 3 figures. A tall guy with messy hair, Mark, a boy with a soccer ball, Noah, and a girl with a bunny. Beside me, she wrote, in careful letters, Mom Jen. She held it up, proud and shy all at once. This is my family, she said. The one that came when I called from the basement. I took the drawing, taped it to the fridge, and realized something. My parents had always taught me that family was about blood. That night at midnight, when I picked up the phone and heard my niece's voice shaking through the dark, I learned the truth. Family is about who shows up, who hears you, who refuses to let you stay locked away, no matter how much trouble it causes.